Humans? Just legends told to scare cadets, the alien admiral scoffed, until his fleet entered Earth's orbit, and the stars themselves seemed to scream in warning. What they thought were myths were about to become their worst nightmare, because humans don't vanish, they evolve, and when they return, they don't ask questions. Admiral Zorb Qualaxian stared through the massive viewport of the Imperial warship Inevitable Conquest with his three primary eyes narrowed in skepticism. His secondary eyes remained fixed on the holographic display of the small blue-green planet rotating lazily before him. The nervous science officer Pix Nuberon stood at attention antenna twitching with anxiety. "So you are telling me," Zorb said, dragging out each word as if explaining basic arithmetic to a particularly dim-witted space slug, "that this utterly unremarkable little mudball is the source of those radio signals, the ones that have been giving our intelligence division collective migraines for the past 30 rotations." "Why yes, Admiral." Click, stammered, mandibles clicking together. "We have confirmed it beyond any reasonable doubt," Zorb snorted, a sound like pressurized steam escaping a faulty valve. "And you believe these signals indicate an advanced civilization on that?" The science officer nervously adjusted the datapad in his spindly appendages. "The signals contain complex mathematical sequences, musical arrangements, and what appears to be rudimentary interplanetary greeting protocols." "Sir, please. Next you will be telling me it's populated by those. What were they called again? Those ridiculous mythological creatures from the ancient texts." "Humans, sir," offered hesitantly. "Hey." The Admiral's laugh boomed across the bridge, causing several junior officers to flinch at their stations. "Humans might as well tell me it's populated by quantum unicorns or probability dragons." The science officer's exoskeleton flushed a pale yellow, the Quaxian equivalent of an embarrassed blush. "With all due respect, Admiral, the ancient texts might have some basis," and Zorb waved a dismissive tentacle. "Everyone with more than 2 functioning brain cells knows humans are just glorified campfire stories to frighten gullible hatchlings. Beware, the humans with their opposable thumbs and irrational thinking patterns," he mocked in a singong voice. "Give me a break." The Admiral turned to his strategic commander, a battle-hardened veteran named Craig Dominar, whose carapace bore the scars of 17 successful planetary conquests. "What's your assessment, Commander?" Craig's voice was like gravel being crushed. "The planet has no noticeable defense grid, no orbital weapons platforms, and no detection systems capable of identifying our presence. Whatever civilization exists there, they are practically begging to be conquered." "Exactly." Zorb slapped a tentacle against the viewport with enough force to make the reinforced transparent steel vibrate. "This will be the easiest conquest in the history of the Galactic Imperium. It's a Class 3 planet with moderate resources ripe for harvesting. The Emperor will be moderately pleased, and I can finally get that promotion to the Central Systems." The Admiral swiveled dramatically, his ceremonial cape billowing behind him. "Prepare the invasion fleet. We will begin Standard Conquest Protocol at 0600 ship time tomorrow. I want resource extractors deployed by midday, and a victory banquet on my table by dinner." As the bridge erupted into activity, Plex approached the Admiral once more, clearly wrestling with whether to speak his mind. "Spit it out, science officer," Zorb said with exaggerated patience. "Your face looks like you have swallowed a temporal paradox." "Sir, I have been analyzing some of the more recent transmissions from the planet," Flick said quietly. "They include images that look remarkably like the descriptions of humans from our ancient texts. Bipedal, endoskeleton-based with peculiar emotional responses, and a concerning predilection for combustion-based technologies." The Admiral rolled all 5 of his eyes simultaneously. "Next you will tell me they also have those mythical dogs that supposedly follow them everywhere." Plex's antenna drooped slightly. "Actually, sir, there is substantial evidence of companion quadrupeds in the transmissions." Zorb stared at his science officer for a long uncomfortable moment. Then he burst into laughter so violent that his respiratory sacs inflated to twice their normal size. "Oh, this is rich, truly priceless. The timid science officer believes in humans." He wiped viscous fluid from his eye stalks, still chuckling. "Listen, Plix. I don't care if this planet is inhabited by gaseous jellyfish or sentient fungi. Tomorrow they become property of the Imperium. End of discussion." As the Admiral strutted away, Commander Craig approached Plix, lowering his voice to avoid being overheard. "You really believe humans exist? The creatures from the Forbidden Archives?" Flix nodded solemnly. "I have studied all available data, Commander. If these aren't humans, they are remarkably similar to the descriptions passed down through generations. And if the ancient warnings about them are even partially true, then we might be making a catastrophic mistake. Craig finished his battle-hardened carapace, suddenly feeling insufficient protection. The next morning, the invasion fleet launched with military precision. Thousands of dropships descended through the atmosphere of the blue-green planet, targeting the largest population centers first. Admiral Zorb watched from the comfort of his command chair, sipping a fermented nutrient broth and occasionally barking orders at his subordinates. Status report, he demanded as the first wave of dropships disappeared into the planet's cloud layer. All ships maintaining optimal descent vectors, reported the navigation officer. Planetary defenses remain non-existent. Of course they are non-existent, Zorb said smugly. Whatever primitive lifeforms evolved on this rock, they are about to experience the privilege of serving the Imperium. Some might even call us saviors, bringing order to their chaotic existence. The communication officer suddenly jerked upright in her station. Admiral, we are receiving transmissions from the surface in multiple languages, but the translation matrix is adapting quickly. Put it on the main screen, Zorb ordered, settling back to enjoy what he assumed would be desperate pleas for mercy. The screen flickered to life, showing a pink-skinned, nearly hairless bipedal creature sitting behind what appeared to be a primitive information console. The creature was speaking rapidly, its single mouth moving in patterns that seemed impossibly complex. Reports coming in from all major cities of unidentified aircraft entering our airspace. Military forces worldwide are on high alert. Citizens are advised to remain calm and follow emergency protocols. We will continue broadcasting as long as possible. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Every officer stared at the screen, then at the admiral, then back at the screen. Is that Commander Craig? Began, his voice unusually high-pitched. A human finished standing straight up in vindication, exactly as described in the ancient texts. Zorb waved dismissively, though his middle eye twitched nervously. So, the primitive species happens to be bipedal with reduced pilosity. But that doesn't make them humans. Humans are supposed to be unpredictable, resourceful, and irrationally aggressive when threatened. This creature is merely reporting our arrival. Observe its calm demeanor. Where's the legendary human ferocity? As if on cue, the screen split to show footage from one of the dropships. The primitive flying machine, clearly combustion-based as predicted, was approaching the dropship at high velocity. Before anyone could react, projectiles erupted from the flying machine, impacting the dropship's hull. Damage report, Zorb demanded, leaning forward. Minimal structural damage to dropship 247, reported the defense officer. Their weapons are primitive kinetic projectiles, barely worth mentioning. See? Zorb relaxed again. Nothing to worry about. These creatures might have a passing resemblance to the mythical humans, but they are clearly no match for Imperial technology. The screen suddenly flashed bright white as the primitive flying machine exploded, not from Imperial weapons, but from what appeared to be a self-initiated detonation that engulfed the dropship in flames. Dropship 247 is gone, sir, the defense officer reported, mandibles hanging open in shock. Gone. Gone. What do you mean gone? Zorb sputtered, spraying nutrient broth across his console. The primitive craft contained explosives far more powerful than our scans indicated possible. The pilot deliberately collided with our ship. Science Officer Plex's voice was barely audible. Sacrifice behavior. Just like the text described, humans value collective survival over individual life. Zorb's complexion shifted to a mottled purple, the Qualaxian indicator of extreme stress. One lucky hit doesn't mean anything. Continue the invasion as planned. But reports were now flooding in from across the planet. While most dropships were landing successfully, unexpected resistance was mounting. Primitive, but surprisingly effective weapons were being deployed against the invasion forces. In some locations, the planet's inhabitants had already captured Imperial technology and were attempting to reverse engineer it on the spot. This is impossible, Zorb muttered, watching footage of a group of humans dismantling a scout drone while under fire. No species learns that quickly, sir, Lick said, his scientific curiosity momentarily overcoming his fear of the Admiral's wrath. Have you ever actually read the complete texts about humans in the Forbidden Archives? Of course not. Zorb snapped. They are children's stories, cautionary tales. Don't explore too far, or the humans will get you. The texts describe humans as having several unique characteristics. Pix continued, ignoring the warning glares from his superior adaptability beyond any known species. Tool used so integrated into their psychology that they can weaponize virtually anything. Social structures that balance competition and cooperation in ways our scientists still don't understand. And most concerning of all, they thrive on conflict. Ridiculous, Zorb scoffed, but his voice lacked conviction. Commander Craig, who had been analyzing the battle reports, looked up with grave concern. Admiral, we have lost contact with 23 dropships. The humans are using our own vehicles against us in Sectors 7 and 12, and there are reports of humans approaching Imperial troops with white flags, then detonating concealed explosives. Deception tactics, Plex whispered. The texts mentioned those too. Admiral Zorb's complexion had now progressed to a deep indigo bordering on black, a color no officer present had ever seen on a living Qualaxian before.
What's this?
This changes nothing, he insisted, voice cracking slightly. We outnumber them. Our technology is superior. The Imperium has conquered 1,000 worlds, but never a world with humans, Flix pointed out, because most of us believed they didn't exist. The communication officer's console suddenly lit up with incoming transmissions. Admiral, she said, voice trembling. We are receiving messages from the humans. They are broadcasting on our secure frequencies. Somehow they have already cracked our encryption. Some impossible, Zorb thundered. But his protest sounded hollow even to himself. What are they saying? The officer hesitated. They are proposing terms, sir. Terms.
Yours, all.
Zorb's respiratory sacs nearly burst from indignation. We don't negotiate with primitive species. We are the Imperial Armada. They say they have captured 16 of our dropships intact. The officer continued. They are already analyzing our propulsion systems, weapons, technology and communication arrays. They say they are grateful for the generous technology donation and would be happy to discuss peaceful relations now that we have gotten their attention. Admiral Zorb slumped in his command chair, the magnitude of his miscalculation finally sinking in. Humans weren't a myth. They were very real, and exactly as the ancient texts had warned, adaptable, unpredictable, and terrifyingly quick to weaponize new technology. Clicks, he said quietly. All 5 eyes focused on the science officer. Tell me everything you know about humans. Everything. No detail is too small. He swallowed hard before adding. The future of the Imperium may depend on it. Flix nodded solemnly. I believe you are right, Admiral. But there's something else you should know. Something I discovered just before the invasion began.
What is it?
Zorb asked, dreading the answer. The oldest texts in the Forbidden Archives. They suggest our species may have encountered humans before thousands of years ago. Flix paused, antenna drooping. It didn't end well for us then either. As if to punctuate this revelation, the main view screen changed to show a human face, square-jawed, determined, with eyes that seemed to look directly into Zorb's souls. The human's mouth curved into what the ancient texts called a smile, but which contained no warmth or comfort. Attention, alien vessel, the human said in nearly perfect Qualian, the language they couldn't possibly have had time to learn. Perhaps we should talk about your unconditional surrender. The bridge fell silent as every officer turned to look at Admiral Zorb Qualaxian, the admiral who had insisted humans were just a myth. Admiral Zorb Qualaxian stared at the human face on the view screen, his 3 primary eyes blinking in rapid succession. The bridge of the inevitable conquest had fallen so silent that one could hear the subtle clicking of Plix Nuberon's nervous mandibles. Did that primitive just suggest we surrender to them? Zorb finally sputtered, his voice rising to a pitch that made several junior officers' auditory membranes vibrate painfully. The human on screen maintained that unsettling smile. My name is General Talia Baxter of the United Earth Defense Force. And yes, that's exactly what I suggested. Your invasion is failing spectacularly, and we'd like to avoid unnecessary casualties on both sides. Commander Craig Dominar stepped forward, his battle-scarred carapace reflecting the red emergency lights that had begun flashing throughout the bridge. Admiral, we are receiving distress signals from 60% of our ground forces. The humans are adapting to our technology at an alarming rate. Impossible. Zorb slammed a tentacle against his command console, cracking its surface. And no species can reverse engineer Imperial tech that quickly. It would take years, decades. Science Officer Plix cleared his throat, a sound like sandpaper against wet glass. Actually, sir, according to the ancient texts, humans possess an unusual cognitive architecture that allows them to make intuitive leaps. When enough about your precious texts, Zorb roared, spraying acidic spittle across the command deck. I want solutions, not history lessons. The human general on screen watched this exchange with evident interest. Your science officer seems sensible. Perhaps you should listen to him. Zorb's exoskeleton flushed deep purple with rage and embarrassment. How are you understanding our language? Our translators couldn't possibly have given you access to URID, one of your communication modules, intact. General Baxter explained casually, as if discussing the weather. Fascinating technology. We have already miniaturized it, and mass-produced a simplified version. Our forces worldwide can now understand your troops, which has made capturing them much easier. The communication officer's antenna went rigid with shock. Admiral, the human is telling the truth. We are receiving reports of captured Imperial soldiers being interrogated in their native dialects. Zorb slumped back in his command chair, the reality of the situation finally penetrating his thick carapace. He gestured weakly toward Plix. Tell me about these humans. Everything now. Plix stepped forward. Datapad clutched in his trembling appendages. Humans evolved on a planet with wildly fluctuating conditions, forcing extreme adaptability. They can survive in environments ranging from sub-zero to desert heat, can digest almost anything organic, and possess remarkable endurance due to their efficient cooling system. You mean they don't even have proper temperature regulation? Zorb asked incredulously. That's their advantage, sir. They expel excess heat through evaporative cooling, what they call sweating. It allows them to outlast almost any prey in their native environment. General Baxter nodded appreciatively. Your science officer has done his homework. But most concerning, Pix continued, is their psychological makeup. Humans operate on a seemingly contradictory blend of individualism and collective action. They fiercely defend their autonomy while simultaneously forming cohesive groups capable of astonishing coordination. And when threatened, he hesitated. When threatened, Zorb prompted, dreading the answer. When threatened, they become exponentially more dangerous, Flick said quietly. Their threat response doesn't follow normal evolutionary patterns. Instead of fleeing superior forces, they become more aggressive, more innovative, and unnervingly willing to sacrifice individual lives for collective victory. As if to illustrate this point, the tactical display lit up with new alerts. Commander Craig's exoskeleton pad to an ashen gray as he interpreted the data. Admiral, the humans have breached the security protocols on dropships in sectors 9 through 14. They are launching them against our own ground forces. They can't possibly know how to fly our ships, Zorb protested. They don't need to fly them well, Craig replied grimly. They are using them as guided missiles. The defense officer interrupted with increasing panic. Admiral, our ground commanders report humans using our own energy weapons against us. They have somehow modified the power cells to overload on impact. They are essentially using our sidearms as grenades. Zorb turned back to the view screen where General Baxter waited patiently. What do you want? He asked, his once imperious voice now barely a whisper. First, the immediate withdrawal of all your forces from Earth, Baxter said, counting off on her alien-looking digits. Second, technical data on your propulsion systems as reparations for the damage caused. Third, the location of your home world and details of your Imperium for our records. You expect me to betray the Imperium? Zorb asked aghast. I expect you to make the rational choice, Baxter replied. You have lost this battle, Admiral. The only question is how costly that loss will be. Before Zorb could respond, the ship's sensors blared with new warnings. The navigation officer frantically worked his console. Admiral. Multiple small craft approaching from the planet's surface. They appear to be modified versions of our own scout ships. But the energy signatures are all wrong. Wrong how? Zorb demanded. They are running hotter, sir. Much hotter. The humans have stripped out the safety protocols and rerouted power from multiple systems to the engines. They are achieving speeds our ships weren't designed to reach. General Baxter's smile widened.
You will find we have a saying. Rules and safety protocols are more like guidelines. Your ships can go much faster without all those redundant systems you installed. The defense officer shrieked in alarm. They are approaching our hull. Impact in 30 seconds. Evasive maneuvers, Zorb ordered. Too late, Craig said, staring at the tactical display. They are coming in too fast from too many vectors. The first impact rocked the massive warship, sending several officers tumbling from their stations. Alarms blared as damage reports flooded in. A hull breach on Deck 7. The defense officer reported. Security teams responding. But Admiral, the humans are boarding us. General Baxter nodded solemnly. I should mention our fourth demand, the surrender of your vessel. We are particularly interested in studying your faster-than-light technology. Zorb stared at the human in horror. You are insane. This ship houses over 12,000 Imperial personnel. You can't possibly hope to capture it with a handful of boarding parties. We don't need to capture the whole ship at once, Baxter explained as if teaching basic arithmetic. We just need your engine room and command deck. Your security forces are already dealing with multiple breaches, fire outbreaks, and disabled systems. We have studied your ship schematics from the data cores of your captured dropships, Admiral. We know exactly where to hit you. As if to punctuate her point, the lights on the bridge flickered and died, replaced by the dim red glow of emergency power. The massive view screen split into quadrants, now showing security footage from around the ship. Humans in improvised environmental suits were advancing through the corridors, using modified Imperial weapons with devastating effect. How are they breaching our security so easily? Zorb whispered. Plick studied his datapad, which was receiving updates from the ship's central computer. They are using our own communication frequencies to transmit false orders and reroute our security teams. And they have introduced some kind of information virus into our systems. A computer virus, Craig asked. Our systems have quantum encryption. They call it trolling. Blake said, sounding almost impressed. They have flooded our communication systems with nonsensical messages, memes, and something called rickrolls. Our algorithms are trying to translate and categorize everything, consuming processing power needed for defense systems. A new alarm sounded, this one deeper and more ominous than the others. Engine room breach. The engineering officer reported. Humans have reached the FTL drive control room. Zorb looked from the security feeds to General Baxter, who was still waiting patiently on the view screen. You planned this from the beginning, he realized. The surrender offer was just a distraction. Not entirely, Baxter replied. The offer still stands, but we needed insurance in case you declined. Speaking of which, she glanced at something off-screen, then nodded. My team has reached your engine room and secured the FTL drive. Your options are narrowing by the second, Admiral. As if to emphasize her point, the bridge doors hissed open, revealing a squad of humans armed with modified Imperial weapons. Their leader, a tall human with dark skin and piercing eyes, stepped forward. Commander Eli Jackson, he announced. Bridge is secured, General. Baxter nodded on the screen. Excellent work, Commander. Zorb and his officers raised their appendages in surrender, shocked by the speed of their defeat. The Admiral turned to Pix, mandibles clicking in distress. How did they defeat the most powerful warship in the Imperial fleet in less than a planetary rotation? Plex's antenna drooped with resignation. I tried to tell you, Admiral. The ancient texts weren't myths. They were warnings. Humans don't think like us. Where we see established protocols, they see opportunities for exploitation. Where we build systems with careful safeguards, they see unnecessary limitations. Their entire history is a cycle of creating problems, then innovating solutions, then creating new problems with those solutions. Commander Jackson approached, studying the aliens with open curiosity. You guys really thought we were a myth? That's hilarious. We have been picking up your transmissions for decades, studying your language, your technology. The moment your ships appeared in our solar system, every nation on Earth united to prepare for this moment. United? Craig asked, genuinely puzzled. But our scans showed multiple nation-states in constant conflict. Jackson laughed, the sound unnervingly musical to Qualaxian auditory membranes. Oh, we still argue amongst ourselves constantly. But that's just how humans operate. Nothing unites us faster than an external threat. All our petty squabbles got put on hold the minute you showed up. There's something else you should know, General Baxter added from the view screen. We have been broadcasting this entire encounter live to every corner of Earth. Your invasion attempt has accomplished something unprecedented in human history. Complete global cooperation. Zorb slumped further in his command chair, the full magnitude of his failure washing over him. The Emperor will have my head for this. Actually, Baxter said, her tone suddenly businesslike. We have a proposal that might save your career and benefit both our species. Zorb's eye stalks perked up slightly. I'm listening. We have no interest in conquering your Imperium or destroying your civilization, Baxter explained. That would be wasteful and contrary to our long-term goals. Instead, we propose an alliance. Alliance, Zorb sputtered. With a species that just hijacked our most advanced warship precisely because we could do that, Baxter replied. Think about it, Admiral. If humans can adapt your technology this quickly as enemies, imagine what we could accomplish as allies. Flick stepped forward, antenna quivering with excitement. Admiral, this is unprecedented. The texts never mentioned the possibility of peaceful cooperation with humans. This could be a historic opportunity or a historic disaster, Craig muttered, but without much conviction. Zorb looked from the humans on his bridge to the general on screen, then to his own officers. After a long moment he straightened his posture, attempting to salvage some dignity. What exactly are proposing, General Baxter? A cultural and technological exchange program, she said promptly. We return your captured soldiers and equipment, minus a few examples for our research. You provide us with technical data to help us join the interstellar community properly. Your Imperium acknowledges Earth as a sovereign protected world, and we in turn offer our unique problem-solving abilities to help the Imperium with its most pressing challenges. And if I refuse, Zorb asked, already knowing the answer. Baxter's expression hardened slightly. Then we keep your ship, reverse engineer everything, and introduce ourselves to the galactic community on our own terms. With your FTL technology and a reputation as the species that defeated the mighty Imperial Armada in less than a day, Commander Jackson grinned, displaying disturbingly flat teeth. Your choice, Admiral. Friends or cautionary tale. Humans are flexible either way. Zorb glanced at Plix, who nodded encouragingly, then at Craig, who gave the Qualaxian equivalent of a resigned shrug. The Emperor will never believe humans defeated us so easily, Zorb said finally. Then don't tell him that part, Jackson suggested. Tell him you conducted a thorough reconnaissance of a previously unknown spacefaring civilization and established first contact protocols. Technically true, just creatively framed. Despite himself, Zorb felt his mandibles twitch in the Qualaxian version of a smile. These humans understood political survival instincts as well. Very well, General Baxter, he said, straightening his ceremonial cape. On behalf of the Galactic Imperium, I accept your proposal for alliance and cultural exchange. Baxter nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. Excellent. Commander Jackson will escort you to our provisional headquarters to discuss details. And Admiral, welcome to Earth. We are looking forward to learning about the universe beyond our solar system. As Zorb followed the human commander off his own bridge, he leaned toward Plix and whispered, add a new entry to the archives when we return. Humans are not a myth. They are very real, extremely dangerous, and surprisingly reasonable once you stop trying to conquer them. Flex's antenna bobbed in agreement. And Admiral, perhaps we should update those ancient texts. After today, I suspect the galaxy will need much more detailed information about humanity. Indeed, Zorb agreed, watching in fascination as human engineers were already modifying Imperial technology in the corridors. Something tells me the universe will never be quite the same again. Commander Jackson, overhearing this exchange, glanced back with that unsettling human smile. You have no idea, Admiral, no idea at all.